Good afternoon. Today is the 24th of October and it's time for yet another not particularly interesting, very vague and probably quite boring vlog. Once again I am in Chelmsford visiting Simon and Dale at Langley Prestige, who supply an awful lot of cars for the channel, particularly with sensible second-hand reviews. And it's very useful for me to come and film maybe sort of 6 or even more cars over a couple of days, so that you have some things to watch. I gather that Simon as well these days struggles to keep up with the number of cars that he sells. I wonder if the fact that I mention his business so much on the channel has anything to do with that, but I couldn't possibly say. So what I want to talk about today is related to the business, where it's a second-hand car forecourt. And so if you want to ask someone about second-hand car prices in this country, who better to ask than Simon and his colleague Dale. I asked Simon if there had actually been any kind of changes in the price of second-hand cars over the last couple of months, and he said yes. Now, as you know, over the last couple of years, since about spring of 2021, second-hand car prices in this country have been very high. In some cases they've been as much as 50% higher than they were before that. I noticed that when I was doing a job in London in December 2021, where we were looking at a Toyota Auris, I think they call it the Sports Tourer, the estate model, for a client, and it was a 2015, and it done I think 50,000 miles, and it was £15,000, which seems to be a lot of money. And so prices have been quite high for a while now. Electric cars are completely different. In recent times, because of the number of electric cars that have been registered recently, and there are tons and tons of them, and actually the numbers of electric cars registered is proportionately still kind of increasing a little bit. Those are depreciating in kind of a more normal way in comparison with historical trends of used cars. But what about the combustion ones, the non-electrified ones? Well, I asked Simon, and he said there are sort of two different tracks at the moment. The first track is anything that's not compliant with the optional emission zone, everything that has high tax and stuff like that. The values are falling very, very fast. And actually, if you look on the Langley Prestige website at the moment, you'll see that a lot of cars are coming in at under £5,000, but loads of them have engines we cannot discuss because we don't talk about diesels on this channel. Obviously, if you're in business and you're getting tons and tons of cars that are being thrown out of the London optional emission zone, we know we're not too far from Greater London here in Chelmsford, then it's good news for somebody to pick up a bargain round here if you don't need to go into London. That would mean even though that something like my Volvo S40, but ultra emission zone compliant, it's a 2006 petrol, wouldn't necessarily be worth so much anymore. The stuff that's worth a lot of money though is anything that's a small petrol car and anything with an automatic gearbox. So yesterday, I don't know if we would have seen it on the channel yet, probably not actually, because it won't be coming out for a while, but I drove a 2016 Citroen C1 with the sort of automatic gearbox, like a robotised manual, which it's not a great gearbox to be honest, but the car only had 20,000 miles on it. And so it might be quite old now. It's a 66 registration, and so that is 7 years old, and it wouldn't have been massively expensive when new. I imagine maybe 15,000, if that. It's still worth £9,000. Madness. You would expect back in the day like a 9-year-old little city car to be £2,000, but no, not at all. I mean, they have got the legendary Toyota 1KRFE engine in them. That car was a manual, it'd be worth considerably less. Simon's got a 68 plate Peugeot 108, mechanically very similar to that, very slightly later version of that engine, but that is up for considerably less, and it's a manual. So small car, automatic gearbox, good on fuel. Anything like that is hard to get. In fact, I heard that he actually was bidding on a car auction the other day, a very similar car to that C1, also an auto, and he just couldn't get it. It went for £1,500 over the estimate. So yeah, are second-hand car prices beginning to fall? Yes and no. Let's park up here, and I'll go and get some lunch, and then what we'll do is we'll consider this matter a bit further. So back in February, I did make a video about this subject, as when will second-hand car prices of this country start to fall? I recall having a comment on that video, a little bit sort of, I don't know, perplexing. Somebody said that the video hadn't aged very well, and it's one of these things. Like, you can say that, second-hand car prices in this country are beginning to fall, and if you're talking about electric cars, or cars that are powered by engines we can't discuss, or ones that are expensive to tax, then yes they are. They're actually falling quicker than I predicted, but it's not really a sort of universal thing. It's not kind of like it was when all the prices sort of went up together. It's a much more kind of gradual and nuanced thing, and I think it would be wrong to say that actually we're already in this era where prices are falling across the board, because they're not. Sure, if you look at quite a few of them, then they are, but it's certain models are really holding their value. So it depends what you're after. The thing is, a lot of people are after small economical cars, because that's the sort of world we're living in, where that's what a lot of people need. They're not necessarily after the electric cars in the second-hand market, which is why the prices are falling so rapidly. And then, the sort of larger things that, expensive to insure, and insurance is quite expensive at the moment in general, which is expensive to tax. They're just not very popular. So it's a very kind of nuanced thing. And in a way, the prediction I said, which was about 2024, things will start to change, it has been sort of proven wrong, because things in some ways are sort of beginning to move a bit sooner, but in other senses, no, they're actually kind of getting worse. So yeah, it's really interesting. If you watch Chop's Garage, he will also have his finger on the pulse of what's going on in the second-hand car market, and he's sort of mentioned that certain of his cars have come down a little bit. All I can say is that I'm very glad that we sold my mother's Mercedes C200 when we did, which was back in August, and Simon, who bought it at Langley Prestige, found a buyer for that car within, I think, 2 or 3 days. And so if there was a peak at the market, possibly it was about then, but not for everything, it would seem. As with so many things in life, there's just not a hard and fast answer to this question, and I think it would be wrong for me to speculate further as to when I think that things will sort of level out, because in some senses they might not. The era of kind of little cheap cars that sort of 8-9 years old that you can buy for under £1,000 with reasonable mileage, which used to be the case. I'm not sure we're really seeing a return to that at the moment. But anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below. And I'm off to now film a very nice Alfa Romeo 159 Sport Wagon. So an agreeable afternoon. But we shall return with more incredibly vague musing next week.